Welcome to another episode of the Safe Schools Rainbow Roundtable. I'm your host, Dr. Dan Sheridan, a licensed psychologist, and today we delve into a topic that affects all of us, but is especially critical for our young learners navigating the digital landscape: misinformation and media literacy. In this age of information overflow, knowing how to differentiate between facts and falsehoods online is a vital skill. Today's episode, titled Decoding the Web, a student's guide to identifying misinformation online, will guide our young learners through the maze of misinformation and equip them with the tools to discern truth from fiction. As we navigate the digital landscape, we often find ourselves in uncharted territories where facts and fiction are so intricately woven together that it's challenging to tell them apart. But fear not, for we have our tools at our disposal to help us discern truth from untruth and resources that can guide us on our way. One such tool is fact-checking websites. Websites like Snopes, PolitiFact, and factcheck.org are dedicated to uncovering and exposing false information. Whether they be in the form of news stories, social media posts, or viral content, these sites employ professional fact-checkers who investigate claims and rate their accuracy. Before you share that viral post or believe that shocking news story, it's always a good idea to cross-reference with these websites. Another important tool is reverse image searching. Let's say you come across a striking image attached to a news story, but something about it raises your suspicions. By using a reverse image search tool, like the one provided by Google, you can track the origins of the image, find out where else it has been used, and see if it truly aligns with the context you found it in. This can be particularly useful in uncovering misleading or manipulated images. And most importantly, cultivating critical thinking skills is key to identifying misinformation. This includes checking the credibility of the source, considering multiple viewpoints, analyzing the evidence, and always questioning before accepting information at face value. There are also educational resources available, such as News Literacy Project's Checkology, a virtual classroom designed to help students understand the difference between credible and non-credible content. And Media Literacy Now, providing resources and advocacy for media literacy education. But we must remember tools and resources are only as effective as the person wielding them. That's why education, both self-directed and within our schools, is so crucial. And now I turn it over to our panelists. In your experience, how effective are these tools in countering misinformation? Have you come across other resources or strategies that have helped you to identify misinformation online?
Going back to something that we had talked about earlier in the conversation, and that was being able to go to the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Miami Herald to get information, to see, has anyone else written this story? And what was their take on it? We now run into a problem that's in terms of the business of journalism. And that's what we talked about before. But what we didn't mention was the paywall, and how it's no longer freely accessible to people to get that information. You need to subscribe, or somebody needs to gift you a story. So if you're trying to figure out, is that correct? And you say, well, let me check with the New York Times, or you Google it. Easy, right? And the New York Times wrote about that, but you can't access the story to get the information. There's something inherently unfair when we're talking about perhaps students who they don't have the money to subscribe to the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal perhaps, or any other, and their local paper.
Which is why the public libraries are so important.
Yes, I was literally thinking the same thing.
I'm a huge supporter of the public libraries. I think everyone needs a library card, and now with things like Libby that you can you have access to check out books. Anyway, but small plug for the library. But yes.
Speaking of libraries, this is a dirty little secret that the newspapers don't want you to know because they sell their archives, and most of the archives are available for free at the public library. And you can access it from home.
You don't have to go to the library to access the library anymore. Most people don't even realize that.
So going back to fact checking, for sure, I mean, hoaxes are not generally believed by everybody, right? There's people who fact check and so looking at other sources, right? And even subscribing to sources that have different points of view so that you can see how different stories are covered.
Yeah.
And kind of forcing yourself to look at different perspectives, because kind of the point, what I said earlier, that fact and that something actually happened is one thing, but then how it's interpreted, right? So the folks that can't go to the New York Times article go to the article from some other web magazine talking about the New York Times article, and then someone criticizing the New York Times article. And so it's like a game of telephone, right?
It is.
It's people writing about the original story.
And I think your point also speaks to like the power of primary sources, right? So like no shade to journalism, but why read an article about like the Holocaust, for example, when you can read the Diary of Anne Frank and like read from the person who lived it and was in it? And I think that's the best way you can build empathy as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Go to museums.
Yeah,
Museum.
absolutely.
Yes.
And like even for me, sorry, Tiff, one second. Like I there have been times that I have seen a story online and I'm like, oh, this cannot be real. And then I go onto like Snopes.com and I see that, oh, well, maybe it's half real. They're going to tell you there's it's not this, but it is this. There's a high probability that there's some truth to this. And I laugh at myself, not because I would get upset, because I wanted so hard to believe that it wasn't true.
Right.
And then Snopes itself was telling me that, well, there is some truth to this. And I'm like, oh.
Right, PolitiFact the same way. You'll see the dial will shift, and maybe the dial's like in the middle, and it's partially true.
Right.
But which part?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on top of that, I think TikTok, I know that's like a new thing, but going back to what you were saying is that sometimes people don't have like the mental bandwidth to sit there and read through an article. They maybe skim through it, because I know I've done it. I'm sure we've all done that, where we're like, I don't have time to sit here and just read through this whole article. And with TikTok, it's such a small little like blip, but you get so much information in that small little blip. And you even have people that, like, I've seen countless videos of like older generations who lived and survived through the Holocaust, of people being at Native like protest and talking about all the current events. And even journalism on TikTok is like fast. It
on
is
the ground.
on the ground. Like you're literally posting, like you could post a live and you're watching it unfold as it's happening.
Yeah.
And like, yes, is there chances that there's a lot of misinformation once you post that? Yes, because almost everything that we post nowadays can be easily taken out of context and just and like twisted around. But I think there is so much more
potential.
Potential for it to be like, I feel like a lot of people, especially young people nowadays, I hear more people talk about like using TikTok. They're like, that's where the real journalism, because, people aren't afraid to talk about, what's really going on, and no one's getting paid for it, because with like news stations, some are, but with even news stations, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of these like papers are now being bought by these CEOs and these companies. Like, what is the alternative motive for them having these? Because sometimes when you look at the news that they're taking, like they're putting out, they're like, that doesn't match up with what's going on currently. And it's like, now you're morphing the news to fit whoever's putting money in your pocket.
Right.
Well, I mean, but I'm also have great concerns about TikTok. I mean, there are not many issues that you'll see Republicans and Democrats all together in, such as TikTok, where they're suddenly expressing this fear and disdain, and we need to control this platform because we don't trust it.
But that's been
we don't trust the ownership, or we don't.
Well, we don't trust the ownership.
Right. Well, there's the thing about the ownership.
Yeah.
But then also, because to older people like us, right? The first impression we had of TikTok was like that it was for dancing and for like middle school type of
fun, for the fun.
Yeah, right. But now there's a lot of serious quality content on there, right? So that's again where the discerning how, and understanding the source, the motivation of the source, the funding of the source.
Sure.
Yes. Like, do they want to control TikTok because there is a true, thread, or is it that people see the power of something that started for fun
Yeah.
is now allowing young people, empowering young people to become advocates, to become activists. It allows people to connect. And, you know, is it truly a threat, or is it, you know, the power in the young people's hands?
Well, I mean, look, a program like this, a network like this, what's so interesting about this network is it's a 501c3.
Right.
Yeah.
And as a result, you know, it's subsidized by grants and fundraising, et cetera.
Yeah.
But it's all freely available. Maybe not today to find out who contributed yesterday, but as it sticks around and continues to grow year after year, like any other nonprofit.
There's accountability.
Yes, and you can easily look up to see who's giving money to this organization and where is the money going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm also curious if you've all come across any misinformation about LGBTQ issues, and what did you do about it? How did you handle that when you came across it? Or what do you suggest for people when they do?
I think beyond just the voting, going out and vote, right? We all talk about like the power of your vote. But if you can't vote, what do you do, right? You can drive people, you can rally people. I think something that has been so powerful. I know personally, like speaking very personally, when you had the overturn of and like all of these things happening, it was a scary time for LGBTQ, and we didn't know if like marriage equality was next, right, to be taken away. Just talking openly with your friends and family who care about you, like, and genuinely and honestly expressing like your concerns. And, you know, I think I don't undervalue, there's an inner humanity in all of us. And especially when it's your friends and family and they see how intensely it impacts you, they will rally behind you and want to vote with you. So like, you know, even if you can't vote, you can build community, make friends, and empower others to do it for you, with you.
That's exactly right. I think that when you hear someone talking about saying something that is just not true, instead of shaming them and putting down the gauntlet of truth on them, become their friend and
Conversation.
be like, hey, what's happening? You know, like why don't we talk about this over
have a
coffee,
human
over
connection.
Tea? Yeah.
Show them that so like homophobia, right? Being a fear of gay people.
No.
Be the positive, friendly gay person to show them that we're not what they think, you know? And I think that's so important. I think growing up, one of the reasons that maybe it took me so long to come out is I didn't have any positive representations of lesbians in media, right? Like I had RuPaul's Drag Race and the L Word. And it's like, maybe, so I think the answer is also be what you want our community to be and represent us well.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, people, it's try to say, you know, be out, be yourself, but be out, because if you can, and when I would interview kids, and you know, many of you, you know, work with children, and I remember speaking to kids at whether Pride Lines Youth or whatever, and reminding kids that what I was writing was for the Miami Herald. And that it's great if they felt comfortable to talk with me or to have their pictures taken, but to remind them several times that they're going to be seen in a newspaper, their families may see them, their friends may see them, and to think it through. And there's nothing wrong if you don't want to be in that picture. Stand over there.
And that's okay.
And it's okay, because we've seen a lot of pressure through the years. You know, the whole coming out project. I mean, which, you know, sounds great, and it was great. But the pressure put on people who were not ready to come out. And I would tell kids, if you're not able to support yourself, if you have to depend upon your parents to, you know, put you through college, to provide food for you or a roof over your head, and you don't feel that you can trust that they will continue to do that if you come out, don't come out until you can take care of yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I think in terms of misinformation and harm that can be done now in the media, it's a lot with gender affirming care for children. It's just such a great topic to jump on with misinformation, right? About And
Extremely, especially with like currently what's going on in the States and just in our own backyard. I mean, I've gone to enough meetings that have been talked about that. And I've even heard people like say some outlandish things. And I'm like, where is your common sense? No offense, but
Mhm.
where do you think that these children, yes, is there some children that they identify, they know who they are at a young age and they come out to their parents and they're like, I'm trans, I'm not a boy, I'm a girl, or I'm a girl, I'm a boy. And, you know, they have that conversation with their pediatrics and they just talk to doctors. But the kids, at the end of the day, they're not calling the shots. You have professionals in the field that are like, okay, well, these are the options we have for right now. And, you know, later down the line, we can go into further detail for other things. And it's just, they're making it sound like it's a slaughterhouse situation and it's not.
Yeah.
Just also, I think like the danger of politicizing people's private lives. Like I really
Yes.
like, I kind of want to like
Children. Yeah.
Yeah.
take like I kind of like I really want I wish I could go up to those people and just be like, take a step back for a second, like let's not talk about politics right now, like let's talk about like an actual family. Your opinion that you hold is genuinely hurting somebody
Yeah.
Yeah.
and could genuinely result in someone being seriously harmed.
Hmm.
Can we just talk like
The realistic like
Yeah.
situation.
let's talk about that. Like I
Yeah.
want like your humanity, like let's connect there and then like what I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Or like, what is your obsession with the 1% of the 10%?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
come on, it's you probably don't even know somebody. You know, like, relax.
Exactly.
But I think that brings up a very important point that you all were mentioning around humanizing the human situation here. It's
Yeah.
very easy
Yeah.
to judge something, to hate something when it's
Mm.
in the
Political.
abstract, when it's political.
Mhm.
But really, if you're not familiar with something, if you're unsure about something, try to find someone, get to know someone, and it can really be a transformative experience.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And it can really happen in experiences where there's a coming out experience in the within a family, that parents who may have been hesitant or afraid or judgmental,
Right.
when they realize it's their child, it completely can morph their experience.
Sure.
Not
Yeah.
always, but certainly. But really get a chance to know people before you start forming opinions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, from reflections on the past to projections for the future, our journey today has been enlightening. Now it's time for us to hear from you. What questions do you have? What comments or ideas would you like to share? You can leave your thoughts in the comments below or send us an email at roundtable@safeschoolssouthflorida.org. And that brings us to the end of another engaging and enlightening episode of the Safe Schools Rainbow Roundtable. We hope that today's discussion has given you new insights, sparked your curiosity, and empowered you with the tools to make a positive change in your classrooms and communities. Remember, the journey of learning and growth doesn't stop here. We encourage you to delve deeper into these topics, to ask questions, to start conversations, and to become active participants in building a more inclusive and educated society. To ensure you never miss an episode of the Rainbow Roundtable, please follow and subscribe to Safe Schools on our social media at SafeSchools1991. We'll continue to bring you insightful discussions, expert perspectives, and practical resources to navigate the diverse challenges and opportunities in our educational landscape. A big thank you to our partners at Happening Out Television Network for their unwavering support and commitment to this endeavor. We appreciate their dedication to fostering inclusive conversations and their drive to amplify the voices that need to be heard. Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is one of the largest nonprofit 501c3 LGBTQ+ media platforms in the world. Their mission is dedicated to their 10 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community, including Black community, Latino, lesbian and queer women, trans, HIV/AIDS healthcare, seniors, business, social justice, and faith. Safe Schools falls into the media company's 10th pillar, to support students and youth. And finally, a heartfelt thanks to our panelists today. Your expertise, experience, and passion truly make the Rainbow Roundtable the vibrant and impactful space that it is. As we wrap up today, let's remember that every color in the rainbow is unique, but together they create a beautiful spectrum. The same goes for our diverse experiences and perspectives. It's in our unity and diversity that makes us stronger, that builds bridges of understanding, and lights the way towards a brighter future. So, keep shining, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep adding your unique color to our shared rainbow. Remember, a world full of color is a world full of possibilities. With what's happening in our schools, to our teachers, school boards, and especially our students, we hope you will support our nonprofit mission, stand up and educate our community. We ask you to support Safe Schools' mission in sharing, voicing support, volunteering, and financial support to propel our mission. That is why we invite you to tune in next month for another round of enriching conversation. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe. Remember, in diversity, there's understanding. In understanding, there's unity. And in unity, there's hope. I'll see you next time.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ+ community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.